We are talking about the Clemson Tigers, Georgia Bulldogs matchup that's happening this Saturday. Clemson's offense, Georgia's defense. How do they match up? That's today on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody. He is Daniel. I'm Clint. Thank you for our loyal first segment listeners and the every single dayers that are here with us. You guys make this podcast run. Today's episode brought by Ultimate GM Head Coach's brand new mobile game that's completely free, has no ads, 100% playable online. Use promo code Locked On CFB, all caps, inside the game to receive a free bonus to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. Today on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, we talk about them Clemson Tigers. Daniel, they are going to make their way to Atlanta to go ahead and join up in the kickoff to the season that is here. Daniel, I'm going to repeat those words to you again so that they really make way. We are going to play a season kickoff opener in the Benz against Clemson this Saturday. It is the week of game day, and we are talking about a little preview, a little mooge-booge, if you will, on this Monday. We're going to be talking about I do.
Clint, you can go on whatever kinds of fancy words you want on today's show. There's not going to be anybody giving you any hard time about it because it's football season again. We've been talking about this game for 6+ months. And now, by God, we have finally made it. We don't even have time to tell you about what happened to Florida State and Ireland. That was a show. There was a show.
Hey, Daniel, really quick. How's that betting pot? How's that betting account going?
Listen, we told you.
If
you listen to the win totals locks, we dropped a little money line sprinkle in there that you could have taken to the window.
Could have.
I just tell you, locks are on Thursday. I'm coming in hot with a Thursday night game, so you better listen early to the episode on Thursday. Because if you don't think your boy's going to be out here with action on North Carolina, Minnesota, you are fooling yourself, okay? So that's for another time. Today we're talking about Clemson. We're talking about Georgia. Yeah. We are talking about the Clemson Tigers offense against the Georgia Bulldogs defense. Listen, the Clemson Tigers offense is well documented at this point, but I'm assuming you're a Georgia fan. If you're listening to this, or an Alabama fan, welcome to the show. Happy to have you. Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik is the headliner of the Clemson offense. He's now a third-year starter, a junior. He's the guy that ran DJ Uiagalelei out of town all those many years ago, and it turns out that DJ still can't play worth a darn. I said we weren't going to talk about Ireland. Cade Klubnik is the starter. He's flanked in the backfield by Phil Maffa, a running back that we really like. We'll talk more about him. And then Brenning Stool, the tight end, is he's a senior weapon. He's been around for a hot minute. It's the wide receiver positions in the offensive line that I think offer the biggest question marks. One, if you're a Clemson fan, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth. If you're a Clemson fan, please do let us know in the comments what we're right about, what we're wrong about here. But I think if you're a Clemson fan, the wide receiver position is the position that you have the most optimism and hope for. It's been, let's say, insufficient the last few years. It's
lacking,
borderline woeful at times the last couple years. But there's hope at the wide receiver position in the form of TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco Jr., who are both exceptionally talented, but first game true freshman players. And so I think Clemson feeling optimistic about their wide receiver room. The other question is probably, if you're a Clemson fan, skewing more towards the opposite direction, and that is the offensive line. Couple of injuries sustained on the offensive line in camp, a couple ACLs, which of course you hate to see. It's a group that probably didn't have a ton of depth anyway, and so now I'm going to say it is a big time question mark on the offensive side of the ball. that's my basic rundown of the Clemson offense, Clint. Before we get into matchups and what we expect to see and all of that, what stands out to you just from this unit as a whole, just looking at Clemson, not necessarily the matchup with Georgia?
I think if you just are a Clemson fan, if you were to jump in the shoes of a Clemson fan, what they are hoping for is they are hoping to find somebody that isn't already established. Now, that you have to look at the roster. You have to look at the depth chart. Maffa, look, that's a whole different beast. He is established.
We love him. We love Maffa. I think he's better than the kid that left. I think we've been on this podcast and said, I think part of Clemson's problem on offense last year was they were busy trying to get the ball into the hands of a guy that wasn't as good as the other guy in the backfield. He's a downhill runner. Yeah. And I think he's very talented.
He's very talented. I think he's going to give us fits. Now, the problem with that is you are then relying on explosiveness and continuity from unknown people. Now, they could be talented. They could be developed. They could show up. That's all fine. But right now, you're predictive, right? Yeah. That's the problem with Clemson offense. It's all hypothetical as of this moment. Cade Klubnik, Clemson fans in our comments telling us, yeah, he's a turnover machine. Okay, so you have a turnover machine. You have a running back who is worth every single inch that he gets in the ground game. But you have an offensive line and wide receiver that you can't tell me you need a bucket getter in basketball. You need a first down. Who are you going to? You need an explosive play. Who are you going to? You need that down and distance, dig in deep and get the yardage.
Maybe just a guy to get open in one-on-one coverage. I mean, that's what Clemson's been unable to find for the last couple of years. Right. It's just a wide receiver who's able to get open in one-on-one coverage. And now you pair that this year with an offensive line that may struggle to offer Cade Klubnik enough time.
It's not a good recipe.
We have our opinions about Cade Klubnik, but sometimes a turnover machine ain't the fault of the guy necessarily throwing the football. And so when you got wide receivers that can't get open and an offensive line that can't protect, that is a cause for concern. We're going to come back in segment 2. We're going to talk to you about the matchups that we are watching for. And then segment 3, we'll kind of make some predictions on this side of the ball. What do we expect to happen when Clemson has the ball? All of that coming up. But first, I want to let you know about these.
These are, in fact, Ultimate GM, Ultimate College Football Head Coaching. Locked On Bulldogs fans, we love you, and we want you to love Ultimate College Football Head Coach. I want to take a moment and give you a heads up. Brand new mobile game, Ultimate College Football Head Coach. It's an amazing game that simulates. You get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Bulldogs, being Kirby Smart himself? You got look, if you have a curse jar, a lot of money be going in it. This is all I'm trying to say if you jump into those shoes. And there's always really something that we love doing. We love making dynasties and making things last. And that's exactly what you can do. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, 100% playable, offline. You can play on the go as you want, when you want. And of course, you have a special offer for Locked On Bulldogs listeners. Use promo code Locked On CFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. Download the game. Just visit ultimate-cfb.com. ultimatecfb.com, or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. Daniel, the overall feel of the Clemson offense, if you couldn't check our tone, thank you for listening to the second segment. Stick close by for third segment, for loyal third segment listeners, the everydayers, because we got more on this Clemson, so make sure to stick around. But if you stuck around for that, you might say, I think just kind of real talk, we don't seem threatened in our conversation, in our talk, as we're previewing the Clemson offense. It doesn't seem you and I have much glowing things to say so far. That's a fair statement.
Yeah, let me make another fair statement.
Okay.
Georgia's defense didn't really do a lot last year to threaten a lot of people either. And so I do think it's safe to say there's some unprovenness on both sides of the ball here. I think it's an interesting matchup in that regard. I'm going to give you the specific matchup that I'm watching for and why I think it will be interesting and why it will pay dividend, like why it will ultimately be an outcome decider in this game. I'm interested in the matchup necessarily that you're looking for, if it's the same or if it's something else, Clint. But I'm going to be looking at our pass rush versus their ability to pass protect. That, to me, is going to be the matchup that decides this game. I alluded to it earlier. If Cade Klubnik does not have time to throw, Those receivers are not necessarily talented enough to get open in space. And so if you eliminate his ability to throw, then yes, you've still got to stop Phil Maffa in the downhill run game. I think this offensive line is going to be able to run block pretty well. I think actually the biggest concern, I think they're going to be able to run block pretty well. I do think their ability to pass protect is where you could likely get after them, particularly at the tackle positions, which brings me to Georgia's pass rush.
There we go.
Clint, what are we going to see from the University of Georgia pass rush? What if I was to tell you that in 2021, 2022, 2023, Georgia has progressively declined in its sack totals and pressure rates year over year over year. 49 sacks in 2021, which, Lord, what would you give to have that number again? Anything. 49 sacks in 2021, down to 35 sacks in 2022. That was a national championship team that had 35 sacks, down to 30 sacks last year, which was Georgia's lowest total since 2018 under Kirby Smart. And so you're looking at a group that, yes, Michael Williams is back. Yes, Chaz Chambliss is back. Those are guys that were a part of that 30 sack, lowest sack total since 2018 and in the Kirby Smart era. And so Georgia's pass rush needs to take a step in the positive direction this season. I think we would agree it's an area of not necessarily concern, but certainly an area we're going to be watching. Clemson might have an offensive line that you can take advantage of, but does Georgia, quite frankly, have the dudes to just get after a one-on-one matchup with a tackle and win? Pressure the quarterback, confuse him a little bit, and be able to get home and get him on the ground. I think that's going to go a long way into deciding this game. Clemson likes to check things down. They like to run a lot of little short stuff. If you can affect the quarterback, if you cannot give him any time, you make them predictable. They can run the ball. They can dump things off short and out in the flat. Georgia eats that up. Georgia loves that. You're not going to beat this Georgia team doing that. And so no pass rush. I think now you give these freshman wide receivers a chance to go do something special, because I do think they are athletic enough and talented enough to do something special. But if there's a pass rush, I don't think any of that's going to matter, because I think Clemson's offensive line is susceptible. But somebody's got to get home.
That's exactly right. Daniel, you're exactly right. I'm going to talk a little bit on what you just said, and then in the third segment, I'm going to tell you what I'm looking forward to in the matchup that I'm most concerned about. But if you don't have, again, Clemson has been recruiting well and keeping guys in state. Sure. It's not like it's a massive drop-off. We're not saying that at all. However, continuity is key. Experience is key, especially in an SEC opponent from the ACC, especially begin the season when you need to be up to speed in a hurry. We saw Clemson last time we played them. It was like a heavyweight fight in which both fighters are feeling each other out. And that was a heavyweight before we know who DJ Uiagalelei was. There was a lot of.
I was told on College Game Day that day that DJ Uiagalelei was the savior of the program. That day,
we were told.
I was also told Florida State had the best defensive line in the country. So,
but what happened?
Same program. What if I told you it was the same program that told me both things?
It would be almost like
why are you still watching that program? That's the question we're asking.
You don't have continuity offensive line, and as much as Dabo can't coach without a generational wide receiver and generational quarterback, how you win in college football is going to say, like I'm saying for the 100th time, is in the trenches. And if you don't have that, you're toast. And I don't see right now Clemson having that. But to be fair, we don't know on our end who the edge guys are that are going to make those.
We need to see.
I'm not saying it's a guarantee. It's predictive on our end too. We need to see it. Michael Williams, show up and get that second pick now.
Damon Wilson.
Bad.
You're our guy. That's our guy.
He's our guy. Oh my gosh.
That's our guy.
I'm going to come back after this and let you know about the matchups I'm most excited about. But first, this. Daniel, I don't know if you understand how much
I do.
you and I need energy these
I tell
days.
you what I need. I need some energy. I need it to last a decent amount of time as well.
Daniel and I need it a lot. When we road trip to games, these are in our pockets. They're in the cup holders. They're in all manner of places. We use them on road trips. We use them everywhere. After lunch, are you tired of lunch? You're not alone. In fact, research has shown that over 70% of us hit a wall right after lunch. Let a 5-hour energy help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. Or how about watching sports? Grab a 5-hour energy shot to stay alert while you watch all your favorite games from, that's right, beginning to end. Get that Hawaii game. I know you want to watch it. Stay up late into the intense overtime. Take a 5-hour energy shot in the morning so you can start your day fast. Right now, what we need with zero sugar and convenient portable sides is perfect to pick up and get stuff going. 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and much more. Try them all. On the site, you can even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack right now. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get 5-Hour Energy products today. You can use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive $20 off your entire order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today.
All right, Clint, I gave you the matchup of their Clemson's offensive line versus our pass rush. Can they protect Cade Klubnik? Can they pass protect? That's the matchup I'm going to be watching for when Clemson has the ball. Where are your eyes going to be when Clemson has the football on Saturday in the bins?
Now, here's what I'm going to say. I think that is the most important matchup. Why? Because if you ask Kirby Smart, that's where the most important match. Moff against our linebackers, I'm going to watch, but I think we got the dudes to do that. The talent is there. The experience is there. Moff is a good running back, but if I know anything about good running backs, you need good offensive line, so it goes hand in hand. Daniel, where my eyes are instantly going to go, because if this is an unknown on our behalf and an unknown on Clemson's behalf, and so
unknown on unknown. I love it.
Look, I need to see what our improved secondary against the wide receivers looks like. Because if I know anything about what Dabo wants to do, if Dabo can get anything going, he wants to go ahead and manage the game, but he also has a stupid offensive system. And that stupid offensive system that he is sticking to through and through in all of his teams, it works when you have a dude that can play Brett Favre behind the pocket and needle thread and has a big arm and can run and is mobile. It works. It goes for you. When it doesn't, man, is it difficult. And so if you have that, plus you have wide receivers that can get those 50-50 balls, because a lot of that is Clemson's offense. They're going to take shots. They're going to do stupid play action with a couple of option read things and try to get it back there. Now with Moffitt, it's going to be, who knows what they're going to really do with that. But last year's team, Shipley was a different running back and the offense looked anemic at times. You got a wide receiver that's dynamic and can open the top off things. It's going to be interesting. So when I look at, again, the much improved, but the Julian Humphreys, the Everetts, to your point last week, you said that Ellis Robinson might be starting week 3 for us. So we're probably going to see him at some point in this game. I really hope. Daniel Harris, who's it going to be?
All 4. I think we'll see all 4 of this game.
I don't disagree with that at all. We're on record of saying there's going to be a large rotation with this very talented KJ Bolden is going to get some snap in this game. KJ Bolden's going to get some run in this game. Those 4, and especially with Aguero, we heard high praise out of camp, and then near the end of camp, we heard some not high praise coming out of camp. At the very end, we heard the wide receivers turn it on. Aguero was lost, couldn't match up, and all of a sudden, I needed the bucket. Daniel?
Oh, no, I remembered. It wasn't a new thought. It was a memory of a previous thought that I spent all last year having. Oh, no,
Aguero is toast. So if our DBs can stack up against wide receivers and there is no time for Cade to go ahead, they do like the check down, they do like safety throws, they do like safety valves, they like the screen game, all of that is true. But if we can tack on space, like Kirby Smart has said, I'm not necessarily saying man up and lock them down. I don't know if they got the dudes to go toe to toe. Maybe they do. But man, if our DVs, specifically our corners back, and I think more important than that, because those are more important, I need Aguero to show up play 1 as an enforcer in the alley. I need it, because if Moff is going to bounce, that's a big dude. Aguero, you need to come with it. Don't slow. You need to be Christopher Smith coming down that alley in a hurry. You need to be Bullard in a hurry. And if that's not the case, oh boy, Daniel, I think they're going to pop a couple of big gains, and then they go no huddle, and then they get something going. And that's where a good defense loses to a lesser offense, is when you get off kilter, they get a rhythm going. The DBs can't make plays on the ball, and it gets bad. So that's where my eyes are going to go, because they're unknown on both sides.
Yeah. And I mean, I just can't, I don't want to get super reactionary or super, like over my skis here, but it's just a simple fact of the matter is this TJ Moore kid scares the crap out of me. Wide receiver is a position that now, if you're in Kirby Smart's offense, he's going to ask you to do a whole number of things. Yeah, you got to block downfield. You got to do this. You got to do that. But if you were to just stick a guy out there on the outside, let's say he's 6'3", 195.
Well, that's wild. Those are good numbers.
And you were to say, this is your route. There's one thing that you have to do. This is the route. You don't need to worry about what this guy's doing. You don't need to be worried about what that guy's doing. The protection calls. You don't need to worry about any of that. If we're running a wide receiver screen to your side, you're not going to be in there to block. We'll pull you out of the game. But if you're in there and you run one route, that is something that a true freshman freak athlete let's say he were to have had 2,500 receiving yards this last year in college or in high school. That's something that he could come in and do. Like, this is a special kid, I think, at wide receiver. I think he's going to be special for Clemson. I think actually Georgia probably lucks out that they play Clemson week 1.
Yes.
Because I think by the end of the year, this kid's going to be an absolute menace. But I think he's going to drop one on us. Like, I think he's going to get one over the top or over somebody's head in this game. I think there's a chance he could have one or two big plays in this game.
Yeah, that is college football, and that is Clemson. When the play will break down inevitably for them, huck it up there and see what drops down is our worst nightmare with it. And if Cade Klubnik is a turnover machine, wants to take chances, one of those is going to hit eventually, because we're uber aggressive defense. I don't know if you understand how Kirby Smart plays defense, Daniel. Insanely aggressive defense, and one of those cornerbacks doesn't show up, doesn't remember the assignment, doesn't get the call from Aguero, who's not listening to Malachi Starks because there's not good communication. All of a sudden, that's a stew that I don't want any part of. And that's,
you got to be opportunistic if you're this secondary. You got to take advantage of the plays Klubnik tries to give you, because if you let him stay out there on the field and you don't take advantage, if you don't catch those interceptions, if you don't make the plays that he's trying to let you make, and you let them hang around, they're going to hit some of these on you, and that's how Clemson's going to score their points. And all of a sudden, the game could get really interesting if a guy like this or Bryant Wesco or another one of these wide receivers, starts popping off and making a bunch of plays. It will be an interesting matchup to watch. Clemson's offense versus our defense. Obviously, official predictions are coming later in the week. Tomorrow, we'll be back here talking about Georgia's offense and Carson Beck and company going up against Clemson's defense. I think we would both agree these are the preeminent units on both of these rosters. And so this is the marquee matchup of the Saturday. And so excited to talk about that. We'll be back tomorrow doing that. This is the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. We are here every single day talking about them Georgia Bulldogs. He is Clint. I am Daniel, and we will see you guys next time.
See you.